As usual on my dog walk, I have a brain that's going at a million miles an hour, and I just kind of got into thinking about how it is I started distorted light and all the bits and pieces, why I do it, and potentially, if somebody was interviewing me, what questions would be asked. So I think what I'm going to do on my dog walk is bring these somewhat random thoughts out from my brain through my mouth, so people can get an idea of who I am, what I do, why I do it, and what I aim to be doing going forward. So I set up Distorted Light because for 20 years I have been on my tools, running my own business as G-Tech Aerial and Technical Services, which is a very physical job, which I still love. But I'm aware now that at the tender age of 56 years old, my body is starting to rebel, and I'm not going to be able to keep on climbing ladders, rooftops, cramping myself into loft spaces and things. So my brain has wandered me down the route of trying to use the skills that I have to build something for when I do have to retire or do decide to retire, that I will still enjoy doing, that can potentially be a source of income for me in my tender years. I think it's been a bit of a learning curve, trying to market the lamps and the lighting features that I create. I'm not particularly enamoured by social media, but I understand it completely plays a part in modern living. But it can be a little bit of a minefield, I think, picking your way and finding a path through the potential pitfalls, and finding the people and the audience, I guess, that's going to suit what I do best. Distorted Light for me is something that I already enjoy doing. It began life as Nuts and Bolts, which seemed quite a good idea at the time, and quite a few people liked it. But the things that I want to do, although quite a lot of them are quirky, very unique, I also want to be something that will be eye-catching, treasured, and I guess to a degree, as much as can be, certain things classy as well. That gives me a whole range of boxes to tick, and it is again another learning curve, I think, because I'm quite impatient. I'm an Aries, so I have to temper that even more so than I have done, because there is a tendency to want to rush something and get on to the next project that's bubbling away in the background. So I've taught myself to slow down, look at the pitfalls. Every job is a learning one. Every creation has its own unique foibles that really do require a little bit of the grey cells to fire up. So it's totally entertaining, completely engrossing, and I lose hours on it when I'm creating something. And it's definitely a refining process, and making things be better, I would guess. What I've found over the years for working for myself is that I'm quite single-minded. I like to do things certainly differently to how other people do it. It's no different for me with Distorted Light, because with respect to the many different light lamp creators out there, for me, taking a beautiful object and just popping a a lamp holder on with a bit of nice flex is not fulfilling enough. It's, if you have an object that is unique and particularly beautiful, for me that object needs to be the light. It has to come alive as the light. So I will quite often take things apart and build the lighting mechanism within whatever the object is. And for me, I think trying to create something that is visually stunning is absolutely the thing for me to be doing. I don't just want to take something that looks quite wow and just plonk a lamp on top. That doesn't do it for me. That's just creating a something. So I guess, as usual, I'm trying to do things my way, in a different way, to make the whole kind of thing much more beautiful. Cost. Now there's a thing. Cost. What I originally started to do was I had some items that I had lying around, or so my first creation was actually a satellite dish. It was the sleeping satellite that spun completely off of G-Tech Aerial and Technical Services. I had a couple of rusty satellite dishes lying around, and I thought, being an upcycling type person as well, that would surely make something good. And then ultimately went, I can make that into a light, and so I did. Where was I going with this random thought? I have no idea, but I'll come back to it. There it is. The clue was in the opening phrase, cost. I just had to replay that to remember where I was going. I told you my brain rambles. So cost is difficult, because if you've got bits and pieces lying around that you know your creative mind can make something of a lamp of. I've actually got a running joke in the family now that I see something and people now go, oh, you can make a light out of that, because that's my phrase. Oh, I can make a light out of that. Anyway, the cost of it. So I've had to be careful with that, because I get ideas, and readily available stuff for that particular idea isn't just there. So I then find myself trawling all of the marketplaces and the eBays and the such and so forth. And then you've got to be careful, because actually having modern electrical tested switches, bulbs, lamp holders, all that kind of stuff. We called it bulb, that's naughty. It can get really expensive. So pricing it, as well as the time that you put in, I think most crafters will tell you, most creative people will tell you that it's incredibly difficult to put a price on the amount of effort and work that goes into what you're creating. And I think therefore, it's just like anything, you know, if it's not for you and you're not prepared to pay a particular price for it, or you don't have the understanding of what's gone into it or the worth of it, then you move on. So I wouldn't say any of my pieces are particularly inexpensive, but it's realistically priced. But also I am trying to produce some more straightforward, quick to produce bits and pieces that will be relatively inexpensive, and you know, we can have those as introductory bits and pieces price wise that people can look at and go, ooh, that's quite reasonable, happy to pay that. So cost, yeah, always an ever evolving thing, and as we know nowadays, everything's going up. Will everybody like what I do? No, absolutely not. My imagination, as everybody's, is completely different to everybody else's, and I think some of the ideas I come up with really appeal to me, and very possibly not anybody else at all. But I think across the world, across the country, there are people who will like what I create, the same as anywhere really. I guess it's, if you make something, not everybody's going to like it. So yes, I don't think everybody's going to like what I do, but I really enjoy doing it, and there's no hurry to sell these things. They're there, and you know, I'll admire them for what they are, and I'll learn from the mistakes that I've made with each one, and go to the future and move forward with that. So back from the dog walk. It's a horrible, wet, windy, blustery, awful, typically English day. So finishing off the video, this is me, I'm David Hale. I am distorted like This is my workshop. There are many bits and pieces over to the side and all manner of junk and stuff that I actually can't remember half of what it is. But I hope that you found the video informative and you now have an idea of who I am, what it is that I do, why I do it, and how much I enjoy it. Keep an eye out for the bits and pieces that I create, and I hope to be speaking to you and get some comments sometime in the near future. I will see you guys soon.